Okay, welcome to the second segment of today's class. We'll be looking at decision making techniques. We'll be looking at limiting factor decisions, make or buy decisions, one-off contract decisions, and shutdown decisions. Management usually have, of course, you always have to make decisions on what to do. That is what management information is all about. It provides management with information where they can use to make information and informed decisions that will help in the running of the organization. The first decision that we will consider is what we call limiting factor. Factor, how to identify limiting factors and how to maximize profits when there is a single limiting factor. Okay, so what is limiting factor? Limiting factor occurs when there is a shortage in a key production resource. Okay, for example, you need to produce cakes. Let's say they say cakes and cakes and buns, and you need to use flour in the both of them. Okay, so it's possible that you need if you use some ingredients. It's possible that one of the ingredients could be limited. That is, it's not enough to go through to go around. Okay, so how do you? It becomes a limiting factor. It becomes an issue. So what? How do we go about it? Do we use the ingredients in one product and not in another, or do we reduce the quantity of output that we expected to produce so that it goes round? What do we do? So how do we identify a limiting factor? The question might actually tell you outrightly that there is a restricted supply of a particular resource. Sometimes they can mention it, which of the resource is limited. Sometimes you will be the one to identify the limiting factor by yourself by calculating the budgeted availability of each resource and the amount of resource that is needed to meet the available sales demand. So how do you identify a limiting factor? I have an example here that will show us how to identify limiting factor. You can as well screenshot any equations that we do in class. So it could help you later to study the question and then listen to the explanations as well as compare it with the solutions. The company manufactures and sells two products, product X and product Y, which are both manufactured using two different machines. The time taken to make each product together with the maximum machine time, availability, and contribution per unit and demands are as follows. Product XY and then hours available. So for machine type 1 makes use of 10 minutes per unit. So for each unit of product X, uses 10 minutes of machine 1, and then each unit of product Y makes use of 6 minutes per unit. And then so the total hours is 6 per hour and 10 per hour. For machine type 2 is of 5 minutes per unit for product X and 12 minutes per unit for product. Total available hours is 3,000 hours and 4,200 hours for the both machines. Sales demand in units is 12,000 for product X and 15,000 for product Y. Now, since we don't know which machine is the limiting factor here, and we are given two machines and both of them are being used in the production process of the two products. So we need to determine which of them is limited, machine type 1 and machine type 2. So going back to our question, we see that the sales demand for X is 12,000, sales demand for Y is 15,000. Taking X first, X sales demand is 12,000, and for machine type 1, we were told that it is 6 per hour. 6 per hour. So 12,000 divided by 6 gives us 2,000 hours. Okay, and then for machine type 2, still with X, per hour. So we have 12,000 divided by 12 gives us 1,000. We go over to Y and we do the same thing for the first machine. Product Y, 15,000. That's the sales demand divided by 10 per hour gives us 1,500 per hour. And then 15,000 divided by 5 per hour gives us 3,000 hours. So the total hours that needed to meet maximum demand for machine type 1 is 3,500. That's addition of 2,000 with 1,500. Then add 4,000 to 3,000 is 4,000. So total hours available we're given in our equation for machine type 1 is 3,000. Machine type 2 is 4,200. So we can see machine type 1, the hours available is 3,000, while total hours needed to meet maximum demand is 3,500. So it does not have enough hours to meet maximum demand. How can we maximize profit when we have a single limiting factor? How can we maximize profit when we have a single limiting factor? We have steps that have been given on how to maximize profit with a single limiting factor. So step 1 is for us to calculate contribution per unit of each type of goods produced. Step 2 is to identify the scarce resource. Step 3 is to calculate the amount of scarce resource used by each type of goods produced. Step 4 is to divide the contribution earned by each good by the scarce resource used by that good to give the contribution per unit of scarce resource for that good. Step 5 is to rank the goods in order of contribution per unit. Step 6 is to construct a production plan based on this rank. You can screenshot this steps so you can keep reviewing it over and over again for it to stick. If you have an example here, I'll give us. Company manufactures and sells two products, product X and product Y, which are both manufactured using two machines. Okay, still the same question that we just finished that we used to determine that machine 1 is a limiting factor. So first of all, the step 1 says we should calculate contribution per unit. We've been given contribution per unit already in the equation, 7 naira for X and 5 naira for Y. Step 2 says we should identify the scarce resources, and we've already identified it in the previous example. This is machine 1. Step 3 says we should calculate the amount of scarce resource that will be used to make each type of product. So we've been given in this case the amount of scarce resources in hours, 3,000 hours and 4,200 hours for machine type 2. 4 is to calculate contribution per unit of scarce resource. Contribution per unit of scarce resource. So contribution per unit is 7 naira. That's for product X and 5 naira for product Y. So for machine type 1, which is the limiting factor, product X has 10 minutes and while product, when we divide both of them, we have 42 naira and 50 naira. 42 naira and 50 naira. Step 6, is to construct a production plan to maximize contribution. So how are we going to maximize contribution? Okay, so Y is the first one based on ranking, and X is the second. So sales units 1,000 was given in the equation. Machine 1, the hour that will be used is 1,500, and then contribution per unit for the machine is 5 naira. So total contribution will be 1,500 times 5, which will give us 75,000. So for product X, which is the second one in ranking, we have a sales unit of 9,000 units. And then we now check the number of hours for machine 1 available was 3,000. So if we have given 1,500 hours to the first product, then the second product will make use of the remaining balance, which is 1,500, to multiply it with the We now have a contribution per unit of 7 naira per unit. So when this is multiplied, we have a total contribution of 63,000 naira. So adding both of them, we have 138,000 as total contribution. I have a second illustration here on how to calculate on a key limiting factor. A company makes 4 products A, B, C, and D using the same direct labor workforce on all the products. The company has no inventory of finished goods. Direct labor is paid 12 naira per hour. To meet the sales demand in full will require 12,000 hours of direct labor time. Only 6,000 direct labor hours are available during the year. Budgeted data for the company is as follows: products A, B, C, D, annual sales demand, direct material cost, direct labor cost, variable overhead, fixed overhead, full cost, sales price, profit per unit. So we have to calculate optimal production plan. Okay, so the first step is to calculate contribution per unit of goods produced. Remember that contribution is sales variable cost. So the sales price is 15.5, is in the equation that we've given, and then direct material cost here has been given for each of items. So total variable cost per unit, addition of material plus labor plus variable overhead is 11.0, 22.0, 9.0, and 18.0. So contribution is sales minus variable cost, which gives us 4.5, 7, 2.5, and 9. So step 2 is to identify the scarce resource, and in this question, the scarce resource has been given as labor already. So step 3 is to find contribution per key limiting factor. So since we've identified labor as a scarce resource, we multiply total labor cost, divided labor cost divided by labor cost per hour. We want to find the total labor as regards as in per hour, since our calculation is in per unit. So total labor cost, what we have here for product A is 6 naira. The direct labor is 12 naira per hour. So 6 divided by 12 naira gives us 0.5. So divided by, for B, 12 divided by 12 is 1. 12 divided by 12 is 0.25. 9 divided by 12 is 0.75. Then step 4 is contribution per hour. Contribution per hour. So we're going to limit the contribution per the limiting factor, which is labor hours. So contribution per unit for product A is 4.5, and labor hour per unit is 0.5. So we divide them accordingly. Contribution per hour is 9, 7, 10, and 12 for the product. 5 is to rank. We rank from the highest to the lowest. We have 12, 10, 9, and 7. 6 is for us to construct a production plan to maximize contribution. Okay, we've been able to identify what we have in limited supply. How can we share what we have in limited supply around? Starting from the product that will bring you more profit, okay, bring you more contribution. So the first product here is D, because it has the highest contribution per hour. This is 4,000. Direct labor hours used is 3,000 hours. Contribution per unit is 9 naira. So total contribution 9 times 1,000, which is the sales unit. We have total contribution of 36. Same thing for item C. Our balance is enough. We have 6,000 direct labor hours. So after using 3,000, we still have enough. We still have 3,000 left. So C makes use of produces 8,000 units and makes use of 2,000 hours. The contribution per unit is 2.5. Total contribution is 20,000. That's 8,000 times 2.5. So after deducting that, we have a balance of 1,000 left, and it's not enough for the number of hours needed for product A to month. So we just leave it remaining 1,000, which is what can be produced with 1,000 hours. So 2,000 times 4.5 gives us 9,000. Leaving everything together, we have 65,000 as total contribution, and 6,000 as direct labor hour used. We're on to the next decision, which is make or buy. So the management has options. We should always have a decision to make when faced with one. Should we make a particular product or should we just buy it at once? So this type of decision is simple and straightforward. You just have to compute how much you will spend and how much you will make and how much profit you have if you make uh, the product, and also compute same for if you buy the product, so that you will know whichever one is cost effective and more profitable, you will go for it. I have an example here. A company manufactures a component that is included in a financial product that it also manufactures. Management have identified an external supplier who would be willing to supply the components. The variable cost of manufacturing the component internally is 100 naira, and the external supplier would be prepared to supply the components for 130 naira each. It's been estimated that cash savings on general overhead expenditure will be 48,000 naira each year if internal production is ended. The company needs 1,000 units of the components each year. Should the company make or buy the component? Look at it from a financial viewpoint based on how much we are going to spend. So based on what we have, we're told that the variable cost of the manufacture of the component, manufacturing the component internally, is 100 naira, and the external supplier will prepare it and supply it at 130 naira each. So let's look at the extra cost of purchasing externally to see if it will be okay. So 1,000 units times 30 naira, that's 130 minus 100 naira, gives us 30,000 naira. Cash savings in overhead expenditures gives us 48,000 naira. Is what we're given in the equation. So net benefits from external purchasing outsourcing per year is 18,000. So what do you think the company should do? The cost of purchasing it externally they will incur the extra cost of 30,000. But then if they don't purchase it externally, they will have a general overhead expenditure that will be 48,000. Okay, and then deducting it, they will still have 18,000. Okay, as their net benefit. Assuming the cost of purchasing was more than the overhead expenditure, would have said that they are incurring extra expenditure. But since it is lower and they will have a cost savings of 18,000, then it's better they should purchase externally instead of making the items in-house. It will be more costly to make the items in-house. Okay, we can have a situation where we have to carry out a make or buy decision in the face of a scarce resources. Okay, we have a resource that is scarce and we need to decide if we should make or if we should buy. What will we do in that kind of circumstance? Please, can someone read the question for us if anybody is still available? Right, so a contract cleaning company provides three services: daily office cleaning, intensive cleaning of office space, and minor repairs. However, it has insufficient resources to do all the work available and wishes to use a subcontractor to take on some of the work. Information relating to the type of work is as follows: labor hours per job, budgeted number of jobs, variable cost per job, subcontractor quotes per job. We have daily office cleaning, intensive cleaning, minor repairs. There are 8,000 labor hours available. The services that are to be subcontracted and the total monthly variable cost are found as follows. Okay, which one should we go for? Now, looking at our question here, the subcontractor gave us a quotation and said he can do daily office cleaning for 800 naira, intensive cleaning for 1.5, and minor repairs for 1,000 naira. Now, if we are to give, uh, if the company is to do this by itself, okay, it means that they should be able to make a profit that will be more than 800 for intensive cleaning and 1,000 naira for minor repairs. Just the solution on how we will go about this. Cost of doing the working house is for daily office cleaning is 600. That's the variable 1,080 for intensive cleaning. Minor repairs is 560. So cost of getting a subcontractor, it costs us 800 for office cleaning, it costs us 1.5 for intensive cleaning. Minor repairs will cost us 1,000. So the extra cost per job of getting a subcontractor will be 200, 420, and 440 respectively. Look at the hours that we will save by making use of a subcontract. We're told that the average labor hours per job is 4 hours for daily office cleaning, 6 hours for intensive cleaning, minor repairs 3 hours. 400 divided by 4, 420 divided by 6, 440 divided by 3. We have 50 naira, 70 naira, and 140 naira. So the extra cost that will be saved is 50 naira. Is the first cost that will be saved is daily office cleaning cost is the lowest, by then 70, and then 140. Which one should we take first as our priority if we are to do the work on our own? Because if we are outsourcing, we will not want to outsource the one that will cost us much. Okay, so we'll first of all start with the lower one, which is 15 naira, then 70 naira, and then 140. But if we are to do the work with our own resource, which one will we do want to do first? The one that costs us higher to outsource, which is minor repairs, intensive cleaning, and office. So that we now have our optimum plan. Minor repairs, we have total labor hours, budgeted jobs, and total variable cost. Okay, so total labor hours for minor repairs will be 1,920. That is the average labor hour per job, which is repairs, multiplied by the total number. The total number of jobs is 1,920. Budgeted job is 640. And do for intensive cleaning. Intensive cleaning 6 hours. And the number of jobs is 400. Office cleaning is 4 hours. And the number of jobs is 1,500. So that gives us a total of 3,680. So what is the total variable cost? Total variable cost in our question, we will now have total variable cost for minor repairs is 358,400, 432,000, and 552,000. Adding them together, we have a total of 1,342,400. Total variable cost divided by, and then we have total labor hours as 8,000. So the subcontract office cleaning for subcontract is 580. You should now have it as 464,000. Cleaning can actually outsource office cleaning 580,000 as 464,000. So adding both of them, we have 1,806,400. We have other short-term decisions. We have what we call one-off contract and shutdown decision. One-off contract decision simply has to do with deciding if you should take a particular contract or not. Okay, you should take a particular contract or not. It has to do with relevant costing, because you weigh the cost of production, and also if the cost is relevant, as we choose, we weigh only the relevant cost and then see if the profit, the benefit outweighs the cost. So in that case, they have an illustration here that says contractor limited is deciding whether or not to proceed with a one-off special contract that it will receive a once-off payment of 200,000. So details of the relevant costs are as follows. Contract requires 200 hours of labor, at 600 naira per hour. You can screenshot the question or pause the video if you are watching the recorded version to look at it to study this illustration. The continuation of it, I don't have time, let's proceed to the solution. Okay, so they said the special contract requires 200 hours of labor at 600 per hour. Employees possessing the necessary skills are already employed by the contractor limited, but they are currently idle due to a recent downturn in business. If that's the case, since the company already has employees that are idle, that means they can actually just make use of them instead of them to be idle. So the labor cost, we are not going to incur any labor cost because we already have existing staffs that are not busy. B. Material X and Y will be used. 100 tons of material X will be needed and sufficient material is in inventory as the material is in common use by the company. Here are relevant costing principles. So original cost of material in inventory was 150 per ton and it costs 180 per ton to replace if used in this contract. Y is in inventory as a result of previous overpurchasing. The original cost of material Y was 50,000, but it has no other use. Unfortunately, material B is toxic, and if it's not used in the contract, contractor limited must pay 24,000 to have it disposed. So let's start with one material. So additional inventory of material must be purchased. That's material X. We are going to use the replacement. Okay, we are going to use the replacement cost since we have the replacement cost. Replacement cost is 180, and to buy we need 100 tons. 150 times 180, sorry, not 150, 180 is the replacement cost, times 100 will give us 18,000 naira. And for material Y, the relevant cost here is the cost saving from material Y. So the relevant cost saving is for them not to pay 24,000 naira as disposed the cost of disposal. So since material Y has no other use and is already in existing in inventory, then we will make use of it. Then C. The contract will require the use of a storage unit for 3 months. Contractor is committed to rent the unit for 1 year at a rental of 8,000 per month. The unit is not in use at present. However, a neighboring business has recently approached Contractor Limited offering to rent the building from them for 11,000 naira per month. Okay, they are to use it for 3 months. The first is a rental of 8,000 per month. Now, that is how much the company will want to rent out the facility. But since they have somebody that is willing to pay them 11,000 for 3 months, that's 33,000. Then it simply means that they will make this the relevant cost will be the opportunity cost. So they cannot give the person below 11,000 because if they are not giving it to these people, they would actually give it out for 11,000. So the relevant cost is 11,000 times 3, which is 33. For the overheads are absorbed at 750 per labor hour, which consists of 500 for fixed overhead and 250 for variable overhead. Total fixed overhead are not expected to increase as a result of the contract. So fixed overhead is not relevant now because there is no increment to fixed overhead as a result of this contract. Fixed overhead is still going to be the same. Had it been there would have been an increment because of this production, it would have been relevant. But since the cost will be incurred, whether the production is carried out or not, parts will not be relevant. Now the overhead, there's a part that is going to be relevant, which is the variable part. They said 250 for variable overhead. So 250 per hour times 200 hours will give running the operations of the organization, or should they continue based on what they are seeing. So before they make a decision of if to shut down or not, they have to actually carry out some analysis to show if a particular product is still making profits, then they can continue. But if you're not making profits, then that product should be the production of that product should be shut down. We have an example here for products P, Q, R, and S. We have direct materials, labor, variable overhead. We have sales figure, contribution, directly attributable fixed costs, share of general fixed costs, or profit or loss. So what should we do? Should we shut it down? If we do, what is the effect of it? We said directly attributable fixed costs are cash expenditure that are directly attributable to each individual product. These costs will be saved if operations to make and sell the products were shut down. So required state with reasons whether any of the products should be withdrawn from the market. So if we say product Q should be withdrawn, we have to give us reasons why it should be. So naturally, from a financial viewpoint, a product should be withdrawn from the market if the savings exceed the benefits. The savings that we'll make from closing it will exceed the benefits, like I said, of continuing to make and sell the product. So if a product is withdrawn from the market and the company will lose contribution but will save directly attributable fixed costs. In this case, we look at the contribution which was already given in the equation. It was not given, you have to compute. Okay. Contribution is 1,000, 1 million for P, 150 for Q, R 1,100 for S 350. So directly attributable fixed cost that will be saved. The attributable fixed cost is 400, 250, 300, and 300. So deducting the fixed cost that will be saved, 400, we have 600, we have 100, that's 150, negative 150 plus 250, 300, and 300. So our contribution that we lose in producing P is 1,000, and then the cost that would have been saved is 400. So we still have a reduction in annual cash flow of 600. Then for Q is 100 positive, for R is 800, for S is 50. So the difference that we have Q seems to be, because the contribution that would have been forgone for Q is 150. Meanwhile, the fixed cost that is directly attributable to Q is 250. So that means that Q, you know, can be withdrawn from the market. After all, the 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 fixed cost, that is directly attributed to, and it will be saved. So it can be withdrawn from the market based on this financial analysis. You can stop making products, kill, you can carry on selling products. Now this viewpoint is based on a financial viewpoint because it's possible that we can have qualitative perspective. Qualitative perspective says apart from the financial aspect, what if we remove this product and then it affects other products as well? For example, if you go to, if a shop is actually selling bread and selling recharge cards, and then maybe it's not really making profits from the sales of recharge cards, you know. But it's possible that somebody enters the shop to buy recharge card. The person can see bread and say, "Oh, okay, let me buy this bread." Now, if we eliminate the purchase, the sales of recharge card, and then what if when somebody comes in and says, "I need recharge